U.S. President Donald Trump has announced the delegation that will fly to Poland to commemorate the 80th anniversary of the liberation of the Auschwitz German death camp. However, Vice President J.D. Vance's name was missing from the list, although there was earlier speculation that he would represent the White House during the Americans' visit to Poland. Opposition politicians in Poland say this is a result of the deteriorating relationship between Donald Tusk's government and President Donald Trump's administration. And yet, the official list of the American delegation that will fly to Poland for the commemoration of the 80th anniversary of the liberation of Auschwitz does not include U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. This is a clear signal that Donald Tusk's government cannot count on good relations with Washington. This would be Vice President J.D. Vance's first visit to Europe. It would be the first visit after being sworn in to any country in the world. And perhaps American diplomats decided that it was not a good time to visit Donald Tusk. Of course, in the United States, it is known exactly what Donald Tusk said about Donald Trump. Let's recall, although I suppose everyone in Poland vividly remembers this diplomatic display by Tusk from his campaign. Trump, his dependence on Russian services today is no longer debatable. It is not excluded by the U.S. services that Trump was even recruited by Russian services 30 years ago. It's hard to find a greater slander than calling the American president a Russian agent. It's even harder to get out of this situation with a face. No, I did not make this kind of suggestion. Let bygones be bygones, as they say across the Atlantic. What has been is in the past. Not true. As long as Donald Tusk will be at the head of the government, Poland should not count on partnership relations with the United States. Even the politicians of the December 13th coalition know and confirm this. Of course you can count on the fact that Donald Trump is a man who forgives and forgets and so on. But this is not the case, because he is an unforgiving man. So we have to solve this somehow. It will be difficult, because the problem is not only in the insults that Donald Tusk and his people have thrown at Donald Trump. It would be the worst-case scenario for us, for our national interest, if, God forbid, Donald Trump came back to power. It is primarily about the threat, in the eyes of the U.S. administration, that the December 13th coalition poses to democracy in this part of Europe and the alliance with Washington. Do you think Law and Justice has a better relationship with Donald Trump than the current government coalition? Well, unfortunately, yes. Jarosław Kaczyński did not call Donald Trump a Russian agent. None other than the aforementioned U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance already wrote a year ago that the Law and Justice government was more trustworthy. That government recently was replaced by a globalist liberal government that is now arresting its political opponents and shutting down public debate. Sound familiar? In the name of protecting democracy, they are using your tax dollars to attack a government that was a great ally of ours. This is an entry from January of last year. During those 12 months, Hungary granted political asylum to Polish opposition politician Marcin Romanowski. Father Michał Olszewski and two former Justice Ministry officials spent more than 6 months behind bars without trial, persecuted our journalists and their families who are inconvenient to the authorities, and more recently, ordinary citizens who demand an accounting of collections of public money donated to the private foundation of Tusk supporter Jerzy Owsiak. We opened the door and they say it's for me, that it's a search, that I have to get dressed and that I'm arrested. And I say, on what grounds am I arrested? Threats. And yet I didn't threaten anyone. The result? Isolation of Poland, and not only diplomatic. In mid-January, our country was included in the list of countries restricted by the United States in the export of advanced AI computer chips. We are treated, as a banana state, a regime, simply a regime, and democracies don't cooperate with regimes. Donald Trump himself has repeatedly stressed that he values the Polish people and looks forward to good cooperation, just as he did during his first term. You remember, on the one hand, the gas contracts signed at that time, on the other hand, my visit to the U.S. terminal, the military contracts for the purchase of the Patriot system, for the purchase of F-35 aircraft, increasing the U.S. military presence in Poland. That is why his second term is an opportunity for Poland, but one that must be desired and used properly. Unfortunately, the current coalition does not care about good relations with the United States. They They think that this leftist Brussels government will continue to protect them. I think it will continue to protect them for a while until the Polish public, the street will not sweep all this leftist puzzle in Europe from the political scene. I am the guarantor of Poland's good relations with the United States, on the one hand, as a man who is not affiliated with a political party, and on the other hand, having my own relations in the United States and not carrying this baggage of insulting the most serious and powerful politician in the world today. Hence the great importance of the May presidential elections, probably the most important in recent Polish history.